I'm gonna put this in the bloopers. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Watch Collective 2. My name is Ahmed Gaudat. I'm your host and one of the Watch Collective 2. This episode is sponsored by Flux Watches, a brand which is launched by Jason De Castro and Albert Lai. Please check the new model called Quadras, launching soon. Make sure to check the Instagram account and the website down in the description. And today, I have a very special guest. Actually, I have my best friend, more or less. I don't know if he considers me as a best friend, but I consider him as. And today I have MIC's Omar Kabbani. Hello, Omar. How are you doing?
Ahlan wa sahlan. Hi.
Ahlan beek.
How are you?
I don't know, man. It's quite an awkward episode because, to be honest, all the questions that I'm gonna be asking you, I already know the answer. But I know you have a lot of depth and a lot of knowledge and a lot of influence in the industry. So I think it's worth sharing. So I'm gonna be asking questions that I already know the answer for. But first of all, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, sir. In my new humble studio, so we changed the setup a little bit. We're spending more money now. But yeah, so thank you again for joining me today.
My pleasure.
I think the right start is gonna be to have a brief about you, Omar, before talking about the hardcore watch talk. What do you think?
Sure, happy to.
Please feel free.
Well, thank you. So I have a legal background actually. I'm not a watch expert, but I lived in London most of my life. I moved to Dubai about 15 years ago. I'm very settled here, happily married, and run my own business on the legal recruitment side. That's the bread and butter, what puts food on the table.
Yeah.
But the watch passion and addiction, we all drink this poison called watch collecting, started quite a few years ago. Growing up, getting presents from parents and siblings, not micros and indies, incidentally, but
which is your cup of tea now, so
it's migrated that way. Yeah. But in and around COVID time, I think actually that's when my interest in micros and indies really peaked. Lots of free time on our hands, watching Andrew Morgan's YouTube videos back on Watchfinder, and Marco from Swiss Watch Gang and those guys. It was a whole new world of horology that I didn't know. So you start digging, the rabbit hole just gets deeper and deeper the more you look.
But during COVID was the actual start of you collecting watches?
How would you define collecting? Actually, is that
collecting? It's looking into specs, understanding what are you seeking, and developing a taste. It's quite complex. Thank you for that question. I never answered it, but I had an answer for it. So thanks for giving me the forum to say it. So yeah, when you have a taste, you already done your homework. You started researching.
You identify a specific thing that you want or a piece that you want, and then you hunt that. So that's the collecting for you.
And you start comparing and you start analyzing and understanding. That's the collecting. It's not about value whatsoever,
Yeah. It's the value is subjective depending on people's disposable income that they want to spend on watches and so on. But yeah, well, I suppose to answer your question on that basis, probably just before COVID, analyzing pieces, comparing stats, specs, identifying pieces that I wanted to hunt.
Yes.
I would say so, yeah, probably in and around then. But before then, using a different definition of collecting, it was just having multiple pieces, seeing a piece that you wanted or you liked and you bought it. You weren't a collector, but you liked watches and you bought multiple pieces. I know you've had some visitors on your show before, and their definition of collecting is you have more than one watch, you're a collector.
Yes.
I've heard that said to me many times. So by that definition, yeah, I mean, I was collecting probably since 2009.
Okay.
By that definition.
Okay. And do you remember your first piece?
Yeah. So the first piece that I bought for myself was a Mont Blanc Nicholas Rysek.
Okay.
The one with the two turning discs for the chronograph function, mono pusher, really nice.
I love it.
I bought this one on holiday in Italy. I was there with the family. It was actually my 40th birthday, I think, at the time. Or was it? No. It was my 30th birthday, maybe? I forgot. I'm getting old.
This is
I'm getting old.
A proof that you're getting old.
I'm getting old. No, I only turned 40 a few years ago, so that's
exactly
not right.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, that was the first piece that I bought, and I knew I wanted it. It wasn't like a snap knee-jerk reaction. It was. I was actually reading up on Mont Blanc's acquisition of Minerva.
Okay.
And I don't know why Minerva in particular interested me. The movements were sensational. They actually have a Minerva club now. I don't know if you know.
No,
it's
I don't.
The super high-end stuff that Minerva are doing under the Mont Blanc ownership, but they have their own kind of Mont Blanc Minerva club.
Okay. That's the more exclusive. Okay.
It's more exclusive, yeah, I think. And it's a small club. You either need to get referred or approved somehow to join the club or something. It's a bit... Anyway, so that was the first piece that I bought for myself.
I don't want to touch base much on your collection, to be honest, but you can give us a brief on what's in the collection, because you're a micro/Indy addict, if I may say.
Yeah.
With all due respect. So you can give us a quick brief, because we have a lot of things to talk about, man. Like
it's a wide range. I mean, I could give you several examples, but it's price-wise is vast, but I don't have anything super crazy expensive. And I do have some established brands. I just have to put that out there, you know. And I think most watch collectors, even the ones who do like indies and micros, still gravitate towards those early pieces. You know, we all think. Well, I've heard this said by many YouTubers, you know, at one point in your collecting journey, you have to have a Rolex in your collection. I know you have your Milgauss, which you love. So we all have one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's Charles Barrett pieces, there's Vincent Calabresi pieces, there's 470 pieces, there's Holthenrichs, there's, you know, those are the micro indies. There's a Radcliffe, there's this one, the Dumero.
Yeah.
So that's a flavor of the kind of micro indie scene that I like. And there's others.
But I think now you're not buying anything except indies.
This has been a recent shift in my tastes,
yes,
actually, and it actually goes hand in hand with how much you learn about watchmaking. It's a craft, it's an art form, and it's driven by passion, the story attached to the watchmaker and the piece, and that drives attraction for me. So yes, I am leaning more into the independent scene now than I was previously, which was more in the micro space. But look, I see them going hand in hand in many respects. They're not all, you know, just because they're micro, they're cheap, and just because they're independent, they're expensive. That's not, I think, a fair analysis of the segment of the market at all.
And maybe I'm going to touch base with you on this, because I need to get your thoughts on that. But let's move to the hot part. Forget about all of this.
Okay.
We can have another episode talk about you as a collector, but let's get to the good stuff, you know?
Okay.
What is MIC?
MIC is the Micro Indie Collective, and it's a platform utilizing WhatsApp as its main base at the moment to connect micro brand owners and independent watchmakers with a global community of collectors and enthusiasts. In a nutshell, that's what it is, really. But of course, it's grown to be much bigger than that. So the concept originated by me and a friend, Samuel Dano. Shout out to Sam, by the way.
Shout out to Sam, yeah.
Who we realized half the reason we're interested in these watches is the story attached to the piece, you know, the journey of the watchmaker, the storytelling, which is non-existent with the established brands.
No,
you never.
I mean, there are a lot of stories, but 99.9% is made up. That's it. And even if it's real, You send a watch to the moon, you're gonna abuse this story till end of days, you know, milk it as if it was the last cow on the planet.
Yeah, well, exactly. So you're just buying a product at that point without that personal human interaction with the person who made it.
Yeah.
So, and unless you go to shows and exhibitions and you have plenty of face time with either the brand owner or the watchmaker, that conversation is lost. That human interaction is gone. So, and I was astounded to find there was no platform, there was no place that you can have direct access and communication with the watchmakers in one place. So that was the whole point of setting up MIC. It was really to identify that gap. So we set it up. We started inviting watchmakers and brand owners into the group to really promote themselves, share their stories, behind the scenes footage, you know, of their workshops, the inspiration behind their pieces, the challenges, design challenges that they might have faced during the process, and so on. So we set it up in April of last year, 2024. So we're under a year old, coming up to our first anniversary. And, you know, the community is now consisting of, I think, about 180, 190 brands.
Yeah, it's huge.
Across the micro and Indy space. And our global membership is around 800 odd now. So it's scaling much quicker than we expected, but it's a cool, different spin on having a watch club and a watch community, you know?
Yes. And the thing is that it's a community which doesn't stop. I mean, they are talking 24 hours, you know?
It's a blessing and a curse.
So you're going to find like people supporting an idea, a little bit of fights, a lot of emotions in general. And actually Casper, Vitrium's Casper, shout out to that guy as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Casper's a great guy.
He was mentioning that MIC, it is full of emotions. I really like the description. He said it was full of emotions and all out of passion. So I really liked the description, because it's true, to be honest. But you're gonna find a lot of sometimes heat, sometimes like they can easily, the collectors in MIC, they can easily convince you to impulse buy things. You know, I saw people talking about watches, and then I take a look, and then go buy it. I'm gonna buy it, and then I end up like with a watch. You know, that's how bad it is. You know,
it doesn't take much to push you to buy a watch
at all. No, you have 800 people that are crazy as you, so you need just a simple push.
Yeah.
You know, that's it.
No, but this is also the beauty of the trade, of the industry, and the community. We all have different tastes. It's impossible to please everybody. You know, there's watches I love that you don't, and vice versa, and that's fine. And we can have a difference of opinion and talk about that. And it's interesting to talk about that. But obviously the group, you know, I mean, we have to moderate it. It's, as you said, it is a noisy group. It's a global group. There's a lot of people who are across
different time zones.
Different time zones, exactly. You know, and our moderators are actually strategically positioned to cover these different time zones, so that the group is always moderated effectively. And we have different subgroups within the community to, again, try to minimize the noise.
If you're interested in something, you should join a subgroup, you know.
Correct. And I think as we continue to scale, we're going to see more structural changes like that coming in, just to, you know, keep things more focused and more streamlined, but not losing sight of what MIC is all about, which is the educational piece. Allowing brands, you know, the freedom and the platform to promote their brands, and you know, we're in a place now where it's getting more and more competitive. You know, there's more and more brands coming out there, and you know, a lot of them don't have big marketing spends.
Yes.
So they need a place to connect with the community without having to spend an arm and a leg to get the word out about their work. And we love to support them. That's what we're there for. So,
beside having a platform which like giving the opportunity for watchmakers, brands to showcase what they're doing, connecting them with the collectors and enthusiasts, what else does MIC do?
Well, as we've scaled, it's opened the doors of opportunity to collab projects. We've done numerous of them actually to date, and some limited editions, and we were able to offer our community access to some, you know, pre-public sale releases. So that's definitely one angle. The other angle is exhibitions and events and showcases.
You have done one successful in London, which was very big.
Yeah, we did one in London last summer. It was held at the Mayfair Hotel in I think it was
May.
June or July
June,
of
maybe,
last year. I think June maybe or July, I can't remember. But so there was about 15, 20 brands or so exhibiting there, showcasing their pieces, and members of the MIC community came. It was a really nice, medium-sized event, I would call it. We did one in Geneva during Geneva Watch Days, again last summer. We did one in Dubai. We've done several different themed events.
Brand-based, like one brand-based.
Correct. We brand-based we call them showcases because it's showcasing one brand, inviting the local community to come and meet the brand owner, the watchmaker, see the pieces, try them on, take wrist shots. It's a very social, relaxed way of learning more about a particular brand. Yep. So we've done several of those, and I like that format. We also were involved and assisted with an event here in Dubai called Independence Days in December of last year, so just a couple of months ago, where 15 or so brands came over from Switzerland. Again, more of a showcase style, but for a larger number of brands.
It was large.
It was large, and it was across multiple venues over 3 days. It worked really well. So those are the sort of opportunities. Going back to the collabs, I mean, we were very fortunate to strike up good relationships with some of the brand member communities or brand members who are part of the community. We did our very first one was with Charles Barrett, a little brand that started on Kickstarter not that long ago, in fact. And we did a design together. It was a collaborative design. It was called the Nebula, which you, by the way, I must say, you shot it and filmed it and did a fantastic job. It was beautiful. But that was a quick sold out release.
It made a huge buzz. I mean, it was, if I may, describe the details, but having, first of all, black MOP dial, white guilloche MOP, and then a full hand engraved movement.
Yes,
it's insane at this price point. It's crazy. So this is why it made a buzz. It sold out in, I don't know, 1 hour or something, under 1 hour.
30 minutes, I think. It was 30 minutes dead.
Because we launched it together, so I was counting the minutes. So it sold out in minutes. And then it was interesting enough for Andrew Morgan to mention it on a video.
That was a huge surprise.
Crazy,
that was a great surprise.
I mean, I couldn't sleep that night, man. Like, Andrew Morgan actually flashed a photo that I took. It's my lucky day, So it actually, what I loved about it, that you actually offered something new. Nobody has done this before. And it was a little bit disruptive. Keep in mind, he mentioned it after it was sold out. He usually doesn't do this. So it was a great piece, to be honest.
Thank you. No, there were challenges with it as well. It wasn't an easy project. It took a long time. And the case construction was brand new. So Charles had never had that case before. There were some features that we were specifically looking to achieve with it as well, So he had to come up with a lacquer which went over the MOP black dial. So to take away its bit of shine. We didn't want it to be too shiny because mother of pearl is naturally quite an iridescent material. So when you look at it dead on, it's actually black. But as soon as you start shifting, your wrist around, it's just, all the lights.
Once the light tickles it in the right angle, and I quote Andrew Morgan, he mentioned that, and he described it in a very true way, to be honest.
As only Andrew can, with his words.
He's a magician. But anyway, but he didn't stop there, right? I mean, this piece was a success. Shortly after that, you came up with another one.
So this was, you mentioned him earlier. It was Casper from Vitrium. So I've always liked the enamel dials. There's a handful of brands which are recognized as the enamel brand. You know, you've got the Anil Danes of this world. You've got Vitrium, rightly so, there, and a couple of higher end brands that also do it. Wangeo as well, Ngaia's brand. He has some lacquers and enamel dials as well. But the Vitrium in particular I really liked because he has a different take on numerals, which for me, some people love them, some people don't.
I love it. I find it a great DNA, to be honest.
It's great, right? You could tell straight away.
That's a Vitrium.
That's a Vitrium. I like that signature. So we talked to him about doing an MIC collab edition with something new. And oh boy, was it new. So he was on your show and he spoke about it.
He spoke about it, I think around 10 minutes or something, because it had a story behind it, like full story. The least of it, that when they were trying to do the dial, it exploded in Naomi's face.
Yeah.
So I mean, the story of the dial started like that. So you can imagine the rest of it.
Yeah. And actually, that's what led to its name. So it was Casper's idea. We didn't know what to call it. I think you might remember I was calling you saying, what do we call this thing?
We actually had a poll.
We had a poll. And I suggested some names to Casper. And he liked a few of them, but he said, you know what? This is a community watch. Let's ask the community. And we put it out there and some crazy ideas came in. But, you know, the name Lunar Exploder was suggested by one of our members. And because of that story, and, you know, we went with that. It was a fun name.
Yes.
But it also has that lunar-like surface. It could be ocean-like. It could be lunar-like. You know.
But it is the most sophisticated dial that he did till today's date. You know.
And you know what? I mean, your photography again was phenomenal.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. But really, it's one of those pieces which, unless you see it in the metal, is very hard to fully appreciate because. The carve-outs in the silver are so deep. I mean, you'd think it's completely 3D and chunky and thick, but it's not. Very, very well done.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful piece.
Extravagant, to be honest. And I love Vitrium.
Yeah.
I love Vitrium. I love the honeycomb.
Yeah, I know you love that piece.
Yeah, Firebird as well. So these two are crazy.
Yeah, Firebird is stunning.
Regarding the collabs, these were the two collabs till today's date, right?
Those were the formal collabs, yes. We do have more in the pipeline. We actually have a follow-up to the Nebula by popular demand. We were so oversubscribed for the Nebula. Yeah. So we do have a follow-up with Charles Barrett, which we've been working on for some time, and it was always in the plan to do a series within this. So we do have one we're working on with him. And there are some others as well, probably later down the year, perhaps early next year. In addition to the collabs, where we're part of the design process and we're putting our own stamp on it, trying to bring something new, you know, brands approach us quite often to do a limited edition for the community. That could be, you know, a new dial or a new case or something. So we're going to continue offering something new and unique to the market in that respect.
Yeah, and as long as you're offering something new, and I know you're seeking always to offer something new, it's great, you know. So okay, let's leave MIC aside a little bit, and since you are really in deep like connection and you're always dealing with owners, watchmakers, brands from the Indy and the micro world, so let me ask you a couple of questions, right? What is the difference between a micro brand and an independent brand? The most common question ever. But I mean, nobody has the same answer, so I would love to hear yours.
Oh God, it's not. There isn't a uniform answer. I think that's why you've received so many different answers. I don't think there is a factual definition really that exists amongst all watch collectors that we agree on. So, you know what? We spoke about this not long ago, and I think I gave you hints of what I might answer to this question. But I actually think there's three categories.
Okay.
I think there's micros, I think there's micro indies, and I think there's indies. I actually think...
actually, it makes sense, huh?
You know, in this day and age, I think there's a whole category of the ones which fall into the gray area that we're all confused about slightly. Are they micro? Are they indie? And they don't tick the boxes that the other two do. So there's probably three. My definition, very simply, and this is broad, and each brand needs to be taken on its own merits. So I'll say that as a caveat, okay? But to give you a general answer for the sake of a podcast, I see independent watchmaking involving more in-house work, whether it's everything from the design process to the manufacturing, to some handwork, design, etc.
Craftsmanship in general is high.
Craftsmanship in general is high or higher than a micro brand. Artisanship.
Yes.
A micro brand is, again, in general terms, not in every single sense, but more of an assembly of supplied parts. Again, it's very broad brush, but this is the main difference in my head, right?
Okay.
Where I see it. Now, there are some brands which don't fall as clearly into either category. Don't ask me to give you examples.
I know. I'm not gonna ask you, but tell me this category exactly. Is there any special thing about it?
I think they are the ones who are on their journey and are perhaps moving away from micro brand status into more independent status.
I've always felt that there is an evolution, but you cannot actually like hold it. It's not tangible. Like it's hard.
It's hard,
but you feel it. You know?
Feel it. Yeah. And you and I are probably thinking of the same brands, by the way.
Yeah, most probably.
The ones which started out very clearly as a micro brand, some of them even on Kickstarter, but are now selling a lot of watches and have a bigger brand and have, international recognition. That's one aspect. But the other aspect is, as they've grown and made more profit, they are developing in-house capabilities. Not necessarily hand making, polishing and everything, but there is more artisanship.
Yes.
So they are the ones who fall into that middle gap. So let's just call them micro Indy.
Collective, maybe. But I agree with you. It is a very controversial kind of question. Some people tell you it's the route to market. It's the structure of the company. Is it flat? Is it hierarchical? Some tell you it's I don't know. It's a lot of things.
Volume of sales.
Exactly.
Direct to consumer. Is it a brick and mortar shop? Are they owned by a parent company? There's so many markers. There's so many, many.
I think it's a question that we're never gonna standardize an answer for, which is interesting. But another question to you, which I really like asking this question offline, like not on an episode or anything. But what are the things that you love and what are the things that you hate about micro brands?
About micro brands specifically, okay. What I love about micro brands, accessibility has to be one of the highest reasons as to why we even consider them. There's direct access. The story, again, in most cases, there is one. Hearing it from the watchmaker and connecting you with the piece is half the reason.
And you once gave me an example on 47.0, sorry.
47.0, yeah, that's a great example actually of what I'm talking about. There's a very strong personal story there from the watchmaker. Cormac Hanley lives in France. It's a French brand. He's based in Annecy. There is handmade elements to the watch. So is it, again, a micro or an Indy or a micro Indy? But leaving that aside, I loved his story. I loved the passion he was pouring into his watches. It is a handmade dial, the piece that I have. So this is, it goes to the heart of why I love micros. What else? Usually they're more affordable. In most cases, in 99% of the cases, they're more affordable. There are some micros that are very expensive, but in most cases, they're affordable. And also, from a wider perspective, I suppose they are, because it's such a competitive space, they are actually pushing the boundaries of innovation.
Yes, that's true.
They are doing stuff differently, right? They're coming up with unique concepts. They don't always work, but actually, the ones that do are hugely successful. And something that bugs me about the established brands is they've kind of lost sight of innovation. Again, I'm generalizing here. I'm not talking about every single established brand. Some obviously do push innovation, but by and large, you know, when we wait for novelties at a Geneva watch fair, you see a new model with a new colored dial.
Yeah,
that is not exciting for me. That's just not innovation enough for me. Oh, we've turned this from a stainless steel model into a precious metal. You know, it's like, come on,
man,
come on, like show me something, you know. So the micros are trying to do stuff differently, and offer us something different, and they have to stand out in the market because it's hugely competitive.
Yes.
Aided, of course, by the fact that technology is getting more accessible, is getting better. You know, you could get a desktop CNC machine now. You know, you couldn't get that 15 years ago. So, you know, things are getting easier to get into the market, which helps, I suppose, the industry as a whole. It's also part of the reason why there's been a boom in the number of micro brands. But all of this creates competition.
Yes.
And in a competitive environment, to stand out and survive, you have to innovate.
Yeah.
So I love all of that stuff about the micro brand scene. What I don't love about the micro brand
maybe
scene,
before getting into what you don't love, which brands of the micros that you think they are innovative or disruptive?
Oh,
because I know you're gonna say Studio Underdog is disruptive. Yeah, it's Studio.
Yeah, I mean that's an easy one. I mean, you know, he came in with a bang. I mean, what a hit! You know, the watermelon. It was just what a hit. I mean, what can I say? It's been talked about to death, but we're still mentioning it here today. Mm-hmm. When you get a design right, you quirk it up. It's just, you know, and look, I mean, even last year, I mean, it got him to doing a collab with Moser. Who would have thought? Who would have thought Studio Underdog and Moser?
I mean, the brand is taken seriously. That's great.
It's great. It is great. It is great. But this is what I mean by innovation. Mm-hmm. You know, if you had thought 10 years ago, would a watermelon watch work?
People were gonna laugh at you.
People were gonna laugh at you. Exactly. So it's funny how times have changed, but there are brands that take things quirky, like Studio Underdog. Most of their series are quirky, fun, you know, and not to be taken seriously. It's reflected in the whole DNA of the brand, and I think that's why people love them, why we all love them. But there are some micros that you know, they push innovation and they do want to be taken as a more serious watch. They don't have the fun play. I'll give you an example. I mean, I love what the guys at Holthenrichs are doing, to be honest. Mm-hmm. That is a good example. They're utilizing...
And that's a brand as well. I cannot say it's a micro and I cannot say it's Indy. But I don't want to confuse you and derail you. But yeah, I
no, it's a fair point. It's a fair point. You know, I'm thinking in my head, if I ask them, how do they classify themselves? They would probably say independent. And I think they are worthy of that title now. So maybe it's unfair of me to say, you know, but using them as an example anyway, just for the innovation point, you know, they use 3D printing technology, additive printing. They come up with crazy unique case designs. I know you're in love with the new ornament.
Wow. The case design, the twisted lugs. Oh my God. I mean, that is a good case. That is a good watch.
Yeah.
So when I saw it, it's like beautiful, you know? And I love how rough is the surface and how raw it is, although they can finish it. So it's not that hard. But I love this, you know? But I get your point. There are a lot of brands doing a lot of innovations, which is pushing the boundaries.
Yes, absolutely.
It's pushing the boundaries and it's doing some kind of indirect pressure on the bigger brands, which sooner it's going to be felt. Sooner. I mean, soon it's going to be felt. But anyway, going back to the things that you don't like about micro brands.
Well, despite the fact that I just said they innovate and, you know, it's competitive and they need to do all of that stuff, there are some where I think, you know, they've realized how many brands have just come onto the scene in the last 4 years. And I think, as I've mentioned, the route to market is easier now. crowdfunding and Kickstarter and all of this sort of stuff, the tools and the accessibility, and also, the marketing aspect, with Instagram and social media, it's easier to get the brand out. So there are some brands that I think have just jumped on the bandwagon, just thought we'll make a quick buck. There's quite a few of them.
Cash grab.
Are they brands or are they just watches that people just put together, sell, make some money? Are they going to be standing in 10 years time, 5 years time?
Yeah. Are they offering something new? No.
Are they offering something new, or is it just a assembly of relatively cheap parts that are sourced from China, sold for a quick buck? It kind of bugs me, to be honest, because it's a saturated market. It really is. I mean, I hear this from watch collectors all the time. They're like, oh, you like micros, but there's so many, and it's just like they're all the same. Like, they're not all the same. There are a lot of them that are the same, but there's a lot of them that aren't. They have their own distinct DNA, and they are good watches, great value. So those guys are ruining it for these guys in a way, and ruining that sector a little bit. That stigma that micros are cheap, quality, mass produced. So there are some bad apples, I think, that set off this trend, and that bugs me about the micro brand scene.
Anything else?
I mean, look, some of them do have their QC issues. Yes. I mean, let's be honest.
That's big. I was waiting for you to say so.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, you've got to be reasonable, right? These are not hugely expensive pieces, right? So there needs to be a bit of give somewhere. I mean, I'm lucky enough and fortunate enough to call some of these brand owners my friends. So I'm always honest with them, and I give them very honest feedback. I don't sugarcoat it, because it will do them an injustice if I'm not honest. They're one-man bands or one-woman bands, right? They have to do everything themselves. The marketing, the assembly, the QC. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a big burden. When you're talking about a watch that's sub 1K, right? For me, I'm just talking for me, I can let some things slide, even though they're not perfect, right? So in some cases, it's fine. In other cases, it's totally, if your watch arrives and it's broken, okay, clearly that's different. But I'm talking about imperfections.
No, imperfections is acceptable. I mean, you shouldn't be expecting a dial finish or a hands finish like
of course.
A Patek.
Of course. No, it's impossible. Yeah.
But I once opened the watch and I found that the rotor has fallen.
Yes.
I once found that the hand is actually twisted.
Yeah. I've received ones with hands off. Yeah, the hands were just falling off in the dial. It happens though.
Yeah. Tourbillon misalignment. I once found an eyelash on a dial.
Yeah, that's not good, is it?
That's not good.
That's not good.
And so whoever is listening to us and they don't know me, so I'm an advocate for micro brands, like big one.
You're a huge one. One of the biggest in the Middle East.
I think so. Yeah. But I have to be fair and I have to be honest. There are a lot of flaws, and the QC is on top of it.
Yes.
Also, one more thing which irritates me big time. The watch is almost, not always, but most of the time, it's almost good.
Yeah.
It's almost good.
Yeah.
Why? You would see a great design, an amazing finish maybe, but the reflection coating is horrible. You can see the dial actually. Why? Because they were saving $10, $20. I would rather pay $30, give you $10 margin, and you have your cost of anti-reflection, but do not throw in it, So the almost good part always kills me. I don't like it. But I think again, back to your point, since things are now more competitive, so they are pushing the boundaries even on QC now. Things changed.
They're getting better.
Yes.
They're getting better, and they are improving. And look, it's funny actually how you describe some watches as being almost good. When they are good, some of them are then great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when they get the QC on point, when the finishing is on point, you receive the watch and you look at it and you're like, oh damn, how? That's really good. It should cost way more than it does. It's a nice surprise when you receive a package like that. But look, on the QC point, I was talking to a friend about this the other day. when something arrives broken, like a rotor missing or dropped out the back or whatever. In my case, it was hands completely just broken off the dial. We can't vouch for the courier and what's happened to it along the way. I have seen some boxes arrive and it's very clearly taken a very heavy knock. They will affect sensitive movements, inevitably. Do you blame the watchmaker for that? Do you blame the courier for that? I don't know. Eyelash in a dial, that's totally different. That's an in-house QC issue. But, you know, logistics companies, we hear of stories, stuff arrives damaged, right? So a heavy knock, something might have gone wrong.
Without a strong or robust kind of anti-shock or anything, which you wouldn't expect a cheap watch to have a fully functioning system. Yes, I mean, but yeah, it's again, there are a lot of sad things about this point, but again, things are getting better and better, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so moving to, what are your favorite brands?
Oh gosh,
I know a lot of people are gonna you're gonna have a lot of beef with a lot of the brands because most of them know you. But honestly, what are your favorite brands?
You're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have to put you on the spot.
This is very hard to answer because there are so many brands that I love, genuinely. And I can't list them all because it would just take too long. But okay, so ones that I own or just generally speaking?
Generally, including even your Grail, so it's fine.
Okay, well, I mean, look, one of my favorite watchmakers is Vincent Calabresi.
I love Vincent Calabresi.
He's one of the godfathers, if you like, of watchmaking. Co-founder of the Academy as well at HCI, and he has his own brand, which is the more higher end stuff, the Vincent Calabresi brand, but he also has a more affordable micro indie brand called NHC.
Yes.
And there are some pieces within both that I just absolutely love. He actually wrote an awesome book, if you haven't read it as well.
Oh, okay.
Lifetime and a Time, or Time and a Lifetime, I can't remember.
I mean, you can gift it to me, I won't say no.
Sure, my pleasure. So no, he I mean, you know, his innovations still, I think to this day are one of the greatest that I've come across, that I've read about. And I love his designs. Most of his watches have a theme as well. There's a clear DNA. You know a Vincent Calabresi when you see it. It's got a clear DNA across the entire range, even the cheaper stuff. So I'm fortunate enough to have the one. You love that piece, actually.
I love it. I was about to buy the blue one, so I'm gonna flash it on the screen. But the piece has it's a wandering hour.
Yes.
Or / wandering jumping hour. So it's
kind of both. Yeah.
And the dial has an optical illusion because it has like a concaved, some kind of a glass inside, which is giving color which is not existing, and it's crazy.
Yeah,
like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But my favorite piece is the Horus.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I cannot find it in good condition, and it was one sub-dial.
Yeah.
4 minutes.
Yeah.
And the whole sub-dial is actually the hour hand. So
it's rotate. It's a dial within a dial within a dial. Yeah.
It reminds you of a Resonance, for example, but done in a very, very good way.
And very unique lugs as well. The lugs are just pinned like two.
It wasn't that expensive. So the more affordable brand still making amazing pieces.
Yeah.
Actually, the more affordable brand for me is making better pieces. I might taste more, to be honest, rather than the high end one. But yeah, any other brands? Peterman Bidet, I know.
That's one of my top wish lists. Peterman Bidet is just phenomenal beauty of a watch, excellent execution. Look, there are, again, this is going back to the earlier point. I'm falling more in love with the independent scene nowadays. So you have the likes of Stefan Catalars, love what he's doing. Andre Burkus, love what he's doing.
This guy as well.
Kadoki, of course. There's so many. I mean, it would be a very long list. But there are some ones which I look at and I'm like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
You know, it just catches your eye straight away. It's just beautiful. Kemia is another one. I don't know if you know Kemia.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. I think it's Kemia.
I would assume it's Kemia.
Yeah. But it's I've seen the pictures of that piece. It's beautiful as well. So yeah, there's those types of indies are really taking my interest at the moment.
Oh, and maybe get your views on one thing, since you are really too much involved. Again, you have your own thoughts, opinions. How do you see the industry in the near future being impacted by the indies and the micros? Because 5 years ago, nobody would have said that we're gonna reach this level, man. We have events, we have a good portion of the market interested and buying and spending money on indies and micros. So how do you see this evolving?
It's a very good question. The established brands appear to be getting more and more expensive rapidly. I mean, we've seen, you know, Culture and Omega increase prices as much as 25 up to 40% over the last 2 years. And I understand we live in a post-COVID era. There were supply chain issues. The cost of everything's gone up. I understand all of that. But these price hikes, for me,
unjustifiable.
I can't explain it. I can't justify the price. However, what that's done is it's left a gap behind in a price bracket which is hugely competitive. And I think you're going to see independents move more into that space to fill the gap left behind by the bigger established brands. So in terms of the independent space, I see plenty of room for growth still. Now, the issue a lot of these brands have is volume. You know, they sell in small volume. A lot of them are made to order even. There is no back catalog. You can't walk into a shop and buy one.
Cost is high,
etc. So there needs to be a fine balance, I suppose, for the indies in terms of the supply and demand chain and how they get that. But in terms of their pricing and the bracketing of pricing, there is a gap being left behind. Similarly, with micros, I think a lot of them won't be around, honestly, in 5 years' time. I think many of them don't have a business plan. They don't know what's coming next. I think they just jumped into this. We see a lot of Kickstarter brands sell their first edition, struggle with the second, and by the third, they have to scrap the project and then you don't see them again. Yes. It's happened time and time again. So some who get it right, the ones that you refer to as almost good, who are getting it good, I think they will continue to grow. And we've seen huge success stories. I mean, you mentioned Studio Underdog, but you've got, you know, the likes of Christopher Ward, you've got the likes of, you know, I mean, okay, they've got a couple of hero pieces, which helped push them. But to be honest with you, their catalog is strong anyway in the micro space. You've got Furl and Maury. Again, you know, meteoric rise. So there are examples, you know, where it's been proved and tested, where micros can be successful and build a successful business. And I think they will They will continue. And I think they will become more common in the marketplace. You know, Time and Tide in London is their reason for setting it up is identifying this gap.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and they are showcasing exactly these types of brands that I'm referring to. And admittedly, the one in London does focus a little bit on the British brands, and that makes perfect sense.
Yep.
But you know, there are brands all over the world. And again, you know, look, the evolution of technology is going to make it easier for brands to do things differently and offer new, innovative things to the market. So
at more affordable prices.
So I can only see room for improvement, frankly. So yeah, I think the future is looking bright for the large part, and I think you're right. I think collectors are becoming more keen on considering a micro or an indie rather than just wanting to go buy a Rolex.
Yes, that's true. That's 100% true. Since we're running out of time, and to be honest, I want to give the time and the room for me to ask you, what's your vision for MIC? Where do you see MIC going, you know?
Okay. We want to continue growing the community as it is. We want to be recognized as the leading platform to offer micros and indies a space to promote their work, their brand. We want to continue growing it, growing our social media platform. Of course, the collaboration projects, we're very keen to continue this, bringing something new to the market, offering collectors something different, and having that sense of community. Something we've been doing to date are these smaller scale events and exhibitions and showcases, but I think, you know, the time's now come, and actually the demand from our brand community is there to do a much larger scale event. And actually you and I have been talking about this for a very, very long time. And, you know, MIC in association with watchcollectivetwo is going to be bringing the largest event of its kind in the Middle East, specifically focused on micro brands and independence, sometime in November of this year. And, you know, this has been going on in the background for so long.
It's been a dream for a while now. Huh?
It's been a dream, and the dream's becoming a reality. Yes. But, you know, it's been struggle because, you know, you've got to do things the right way. You know, in Dubai, you know, there's professional courtesy involved. You know, to get the right permissions and the right permits and the right thing, and scaling it in the right way, the right venues, etc. It all takes time.
And even to do a world-class standard kind of event, it's not easy.
No,
it's not easy.
No, it's not. So
especially that Dubai is now a hub for this region. So
well, this is why we picked Dubai. You know, we could have picked Geneva, we could have picked London, we could have picked other markets where we operate. I mean, I'm between London and Dubai very regularly. So, but no, we picked Dubai because Dubai has become a major horological center.
Yes.
For multiple reasons. I mean, I have to say Dubai Watch Week has really cemented Dubai as being an important event on the horological calendar, right? I mean, some people are telling me it's the best event on planet Earth.
It is actually.
It's one of the...
It's the only event that you can go to any brand. First of all, try all the watches you want.
I love that, yeah.
The only show that you can go and talk to anyone you want.
Yeah.
You can mingle with Max Busser, the Moser brothers, everyone.
Yeah.
You know, so it's to be honest, it is the best.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I wish you and myself luck in this journey. We have been working a lot on it, to be honest, but hopefully it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Okay, Omar, since I know, man, I can speak to you for hours and hours, but I know since we're running out of time, first of all, I would like to thank you for honoring me.
No, the pleasure is mine.
We've been trying to do this for a very long time.
I have wanted to be on your show for so long.
Oh, man, it's an honor.
It's honor's mine.
To have the great Omar Kabbani on the show. Oh my God.
Thank you.
So no, I was really looking forward to this episode. And I think it's not going to be the last, because we are involved in a lot of things together, to be honest. And I consider you a partner. So yeah, you're going to see more of me, and you guys are going to be seeing more of Omar. So yeah, again, thank you so much. And for those who are watching us, thank you so much for listening to us. Please, if you reach till this point, please like, subscribe, and do not forget to check MIC. I'll leave the link for the group in the description. And final reminder, this episode has been sponsored by Flux Watches. Please make sure to check their amazing new piece called the Quadrus, which is launching soon. And thank you so much. And until next time.